not a follower of so-called modern-day prophets or seers, but I've looked into their so-called predictions for years and find them varied, open to a wide array of interpretation, depending on the person talking about them or speaking for them. There is some truth to all these predictive folk like Edgar Casey, Jane Roberts, John Dixon, and the latest craze, a man named Jonathan Ken and others, but I don't put much stock in them. These so-called prophets try to find the sprocket, but always miss the pocket. Most of their voices are like mirrors more than crystal balls. What people see in them often says more about the interpreter than the message. There is sometimes a kernel of truth somewhere in the mix, and they may well have tapped into something beyond the surface. Whether that was intuition, collective consciousness, or just a remarkable capacity for pattern recognition, but over time their messages got filtered through layers of belief, ego, and publishing deadlines. By the time the public gets them, they've been massaged into something that fits whatever era of crisis we're in. These so-called prophets try to fit the sprocket, but always miss the pocket. Every decade a new turning point, every century a fresh apocalypse. Yet somehow humanity keeps evolving and recalibrating instead of collapsing. Maybe that's the real prophecy. We're designed by our Creator to keep rewriting our own story. My current view leans more towards seeing those predictions as reflections of collective anxieties, intuition about real cyclical shifts that just get distorted over time, but mostly about cashing in on the public's hyper fears and gullibility. The prophecy economy has been booming since Delphi was in business. Today, with the advent of the internet, it has exploded. There's always a market for someone claiming to have tomorrow's headlines today, especially when wrapped in mystique or spiritual authority. Casey had trance readings, Jean Dixon had crystal visions, Jane Roberts had visits from an ethereal being named Seth Connor's Christological numerology charts, all different packaging, same product line. These so-called prophets try to fit the sprocket, but always miss the pocket. What makes it difficult for the uninformed is it's not all snake oil. Some of these people genuinely believe they were tuned into something beyond themselves. But once money, followers, or fame get involved, discernment tends to go out the window. The more mysterious the message, the more books and seminars it sells. And let's be honest, predicting vague symbolic upheavals like great change or the old order will pass is a pretty safe bet. It always sounds true eventually. These so-called prophets try to fit the sprocket, but always miss the pocket. Now the Hebrew prophets didn't hedge their bets with mysticism or metaphors that could mean anything. They spoke with moral clarity and historical precision, often to their own detriment. No ticket sales, no workshop on decoding Isaiah, just a direct line from conviction to confrontation. There's also a deep difference in intent. Casey and company were trying to foresee. Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel were trying to redirect. Their purpose wasn't prediction for prediction's sake, but to shuva, repentance, justice, and restoration. A spiritual course correction rather than a cosmic weather report. So then when you're scanning through social media or on YouTube and other areas of the internet, and you come across a site touting the answers to today's happenings from predictions from these modern day revelatories and how they fit it with this or that current event, my advice: turn it off, open your Hebrew Bible to the real prophets, where you will get prophetic truth. Not for a momentary thrill or quick gain, but the truth of Hashem for truth's sake. Today's so-called prophets try to fit the sprocket, but always miss the pocket. These so-called prophets try to fit the sprocket, but always miss the pocket.